Yeah, we haven't been in that area in several hours. We're actually getting inundated where we're at to the west.
10, this is Night Owl on Air 4. We're 10-8, we're en route. We're about 20 mics from Ajo. You guys got targets out there?
Are you kidding me? We just broke the record.
The National Association of Former Border Patrol Officers, hereafter referred to as NAFBPO, was formed during the 2006 attempt at amnesty. NAFBPO is a nonpartisan group formed to respond to the misinformation and disinformation surrounding the 2006 amnesty legislation with fact. We are a 501c4 organization that is affiliated with no other organization. Our board of directors, officers, and senior members have spent a collective millennia and more in the field of immigration. We are advocates for immigration laws and policies that are good for America, and we advocate against those laws and policies that are not in America's best interest. The purpose of this presentation is to show you events that contribute to the intelligence factor associated with an insecure border and aid you in connecting the dots as to what is really the status of border security going forward, as opposed to what interested parties would have you believe. Make no mistake, the underlying struggle and main reason that the border has not been secured is directly related to interactions of money and power, power and money. Our goal is to educate the American people to the dangers of illegal immigration and border insecurity so they can directly influence our elected officials to make a secure border and a safe America a reality. Political correctness has no place in this conversation. You are urged to consider this presentation as an intelligence briefing about criminal violence along the Arizona-New Mexico border with Mexico. Essentially, it contains the elements of a congressional briefing presented August the 18th, 2012. Parts of this presentation are very graphic in nature. We have found through experience that the words extreme violence and domestic terrorism are relatively meaningless in comparison to the photographic representations showing actual examples of those events. To soften this message would diminish full understanding. My name is Zach Taylor. I am the current chairman of NAFBPO and their designated border security expert. I spent over 26 years on the Texas and Arizona border with Mexico, apprehending drug and alien smugglers. My primary job was generating and responding to real-time intelligence directly related to cross-border criminal activity. This briefing will be conducted much as I would brief a military unit, special operations detail, or detailed-in agents about what is happening in the border area of operations on the ground. In this case, I am briefing you as to what you can expect today. The primary purpose of the immigration laws of the United States are to ensure the national security and public safety of America. These two elements are also the foundational elements of border security in our view. The subject of this briefing is the present state of border security and criminal violence associated with the Arizona and New Mexico border with the Republic of Mexico. The border situation is no longer simply about the poor coming here to find a better life. The evidence points to a much higher stakes struggle with the security of America hanging in the balance. To that end, I will synopsize events that clearly demonstrate that this border is not secure, but is a dangerous and lawless place. Arizona's immediate border area is represented by the lower red line and is 25 miles from the international border. This is called the immediate border area. 62% of this border is federal public land. The Border Patrol does not have unfettered access to all of the federal public land within the immediate border area for the purposes of patrolling and securing the border. By law, the Border Patrol does have unfettered access to state and private lands within this 25-mile zone. The Border Patrol cannot secure the border if they do not have unfettered access to the physical border and the immediate border area. The border region is represented by the red line 100 miles north of the Mexican border. The Border Patrol needs, but does not have, unfettered access to all public lands within this zone. The lack of unfettered access by the Border Patrol significantly contributes to the development and maintenance of lawless conditions on much of these lands. As you can see, these federal public lands flow in contiguous fashion from Mexico to the Phoenix, Arizona area and do provide a drug and alien smuggling corridor to the transnational criminals that exploit their advantage there. This enforced policy by government officials of preferring subjectively presented environmental protection over an objective program to secure the border has contributed to the creation of these lawless areas in no small way and ensures the continuance of illegal activities there. This drug smuggling corridor is provided to the transnational criminals complements of the United States government. And, as you will see, certain members of Congress seek to provide another drug and alien smuggling corridor for transnational criminals in New Mexico. In the section of the Arizona-Mexico border that lies within the Tucson Border Patrol sector, the current on-duty agents reported in 2010 and 2011 that they estimated that they were apprehending less than 3% of the illegal traffic that was crossing the border and were effectively patrolling less than 70% of their assigned border area on a monthly basis. In that same time frame, Tucson Sector Management estimated that agents were apprehending 25% of what was crossing the border illegally. Either figure is unacceptable, and neither is evidence of a secure border. This is a photograph of the Monument Fire. The account of events that was reported to Forest Service headquarters was: one set of tracks came out of Mexico, went around the west end of the border fence to enter the United States. That subject walked about 60 yards east, dispersed an accelerant, lit the accelerant, and walked back around the west end of the border fence and returned to Mexico. The U.S. Forest Service sent this report to the State Department. The State Department instructed the Forest Service not to release the information. Beginning on May 18, 2011, until after the fire was out, the Coronado National Forest was closed to civilian traffic, increasing the probability that the cause came from Mexico. This was a case of information related to border violence being intentionally concealed from the American public. 67 homes were destroyed by this fire, and the local residents that did not flee for their lives were evacuated. The fire was in the Miller Wilderness on Fort Huachuca. Fort Huachuca is a top-secret military installation. Fort Huachuca is also an active drug and alien smuggling corridor. This is a photograph of the Murphy Complex fire in Peck Canyon, which is within the Tumacacre Highlands Wilderness Study Area. 3 illegal aliens from Mexico were apprehended in the area that admitted setting some of the fires. Their alleged story about setting the fires as signal fires did not make sense. They kept moving downwind with the smoke and setting additional fires. The United States Attorney at Phoenix, Arizona, Dennis Burks, declined to prosecute the arsonists. Dennis Burks is also the United States Attorney with jurisdiction and oversight for Operation Fast and Furious. The U.S. Forest Service and the U.S. Border Patrol attempted to cover up the fact that the fires were set by 3 aliens then in custody. Even more telling, the incident commander for the Murphy Complex fire personally contacted the Arizona Republic and gave them the facts, and they would not run the story. This was clear evidence of a cover-up about the Murphy Complex fire, orchestrated by the government and aided by one of the largest newspapers in Arizona. Again, the Forest Service was ordered by the Department of State not to report the facts about people from Mexico starting the fires. This information is from the Wildland Firefighters Log of the U.S. Forest Service, Nogales Ranger District. The timeline was not available, but I was told it covered a considerable amount of time. This is a color map of Congressman Raul Grijalva's proposed Tumacacri Highlands Wilderness in dark green. Note that it is contiguous from the Mexican border north into Pima County, Arizona, and beyond the Border Patrol checkpoint north of Tubac, Arizona. The creation of this wilderness study area effectively extended the U.S.-Mexico border approximately 23 miles into the United States and provided a way around the Border Patrol checkpoint for drug and alien smugglers. Wilderness designations hinder Border Patrol operations and do not provide agents with unfettered access they need to secure the border. Note at the center of this map is Peck Canyon. Peck Canyon is where Brian Terry was killed by weapons provided to criminals during Operation Fast and Furious. Peck Canyon arguably is the most dangerous area along the U.S.-Mexico border. Please note the connection between federally protected lands such as wilderness and monuments and transnational criminal activity. This is an incident plot of the Peck Canyon area within the Tumacacri Highlands Wilderness Study Area. This level of violent criminal activity was documented just 3 weeks before Brian Terry was killed in Peck Canyon. That his team was sent into Peck Canyon armed with beanbags in their shotguns is a very strong indicator that the leadership in the Department of Homeland Security is not interested in officer safety. This incident plot is proof that Peck Canyon required a response stronger than beanbags. 2.5 years later, those responsible for Operation Fast and Furious that signed the authorizing Form 819 have yet to be disclosed or brought to justice. Again, here we have a clear acknowledgement that this section of the Arizona-Mexico border is dangerous. This monument is dangerous to the extent that it is closed to the public because of transnational criminal activity. Yet, the Border Patrol is denied unfettered access to secure the border. It is difficult to imagine who, more than the transnational criminals, benefit from such a policy. Such a policy does not contribute to border security. This photograph was taken right from the Arizona Game and Fish Hunting Regulations booklet. It should read, "Border insecurity exists in all of southern Arizona from California to New Mexico," rather than it does. What led Arizona Game and Fish to post such an advisory? Obviously, they have reason to believe there are border insecurity issues in southern Arizona. I think the answer is game cameras. Hunters and the game department use game cameras to locate and identify animal activity. These cameras and law enforcement surveillance cameras provided documented proof of criminal activity. The following slides are likely the type of photographs that led Game and Fish to conclude that southern Arizona is not safe. This is an infrared photograph of a drug smuggling group that has walked a load of marijuana from Mexico to a location on Interstate Highway 8 near Freeman, Arizona. Note that one of the group is carrying what appears to be an AK-47 rifle. This location is in the Tabletop Wilderness area and approximately 77 miles north of the Mexican border. This is another infrared photograph. This one is of a drug mule carrying a large bundle north in the Tumacacri Highlands proposed wilderness area in Santa Cruz County, Arizona. Here we see what appears to be a transnational criminal captured on film in southeast Cochise County, Arizona, near the Mexican border. Note the foam-soled shoes and the 30-round magazine in the AR-15 style rifle. 30-round magazines in 2008 were illegal to use for hunting purposes. The illegal drug and alien loads leave plenty of garbage along their trails coming into the United States. This site also shows the telltale signs of being a robbery site due to the way some of the litter is dispersed. These are the three elements normally present on federal public lands along the border that lead to those lands becoming lawless. Where these three elements exist, no one should feel safe. This is a photograph of myself in one such unsafe area at the Mexican border. I am holding the remnant of the border fence and standing on a major smuggling trail that leads to a rape tree inside the United States. This insecure and poorly defined fence is in the Pajarito Wilderness, where Border Patrol agents do not have unfettered access. Rape is a crime of violence. This is a photograph of an active rape tree. At this particular tree, there were over 30 sets of female underwear scattered about. There was no other trash except a few beauty aids such as eyeliner and lipstick. Victims report that they are separated from their smuggling group, taken to such a tree and then raped. Sometimes they are raped by multiple assailants. Occasionally, the women are in such poor condition after the ordeal that they cannot travel and are abandoned in the desert. These undergarments obviously had belonged to a young, small, female child. The trainer bra was with the torn panties. Note that considerable force was exerted to break the side straps on the panties. Among the footprints at this location was the print of one small bare foot. Being barefooted in this desert is as effective as being physically restrained, unless the person seldom, if ever, has worn shoes. Agents responding to censored traffic on the east side of the Tumacacri Highlands Wilderness Study Area encountered a group of marijuana smugglers at Tubac, Arizona. This smuggler fired 6 shots at a Border Patrol agent at close range. Fortunately, the smuggler missed. The Border Patrol agent did not. Note the .357 Magnum handgun and the marijuana backpack still on the smuggler's back. Had you seen this smuggler walking down the street anywhere in Arizona or New Mexico without the gun and marijuana backpack, you probably would not think anything about him. The fact is, these transnational criminals live among us. They are here primarily to engage in illegal activity. This is a photograph taken of a group of smuggled aliens west of Tubac, Arizona. This group is believed to be illegal aliens from China, in the same general area where 3 illegal alien smugglers were found in November 2011 that had been executed. Reliable reports indicate that the cost to smuggle illegal Chinese into the United States is in excess of $100,000 for each alien. These kinds of aliens are referred to as high-value aliens because of the cost to smuggle them into the United States. While we may speculate whether or not the executed smugglers had their high-value aliens ripped off, may I suggest that it is more important to determine who paid the cash to smuggle these aliens into the United States and what was expected of the alien after arrival and assimilation into the population. The idea that illegal aliens are simply from Mexico is false. The fact is that when we are not apprehending 95% of what is coming across the border illegally, it is impossible to even guess who is coming and why. It is also valuable to know that when the local sheriff's office requested DHS Air and Marine to transport them to the location of the triple execution, that the Border Patrol pilots initially refused to take the deputy sheriffs there because they deemed this area in the extreme northern end of the Tumacacori Highlands wilderness area too dangerous for them to fly over. Note, this smuggling group is wearing carpet booties to conceal their foot sign and carrying dark water bottles to lessen the chance the white jugs could be spotted from the air. Tucson Sector Border Patrol agents report apprehending large groups of Chinese and other Asian illegal aliens. Even illegal aliens from Russia have been apprehended near Nogales. However, this information is not generally available and seldom made known to the public. This is the view of the federal public lands west of Nogales, Arizona from Mexico. Nogales is the largest Border Patrol station in the United States Border Patrol, with over 700 agents. When you combine the 300-plus agents at Sonoyta, Arizona, into that total, tiny Santa Cruz County has over 1,000 Border Patrol agents assigned to patrol a relatively short piece of the Mexican border. It is these Tucson sector agents that report apprehending less than 3% of what they know is crossing the border illegally. This low success ratio means that the drug and alien smugglers have high success getting their contraband into the interior of the United States. This also means that the land on the Mexican side of the border that accesses these lawless areas are very valuable and probably controlled by the transnational criminals that inhabit Mexico. We need to understand that the point of sale for the contraband is inside of the United States. There is no sale and no profit until the contraband reaches the destination inside of the United States. For instance, the cost of an illegal Mexican citizen to be smuggled from Nogales, Arizona to Phoenix, Arizona in 1993 was about $30 to $50 US. Today, it may cost an illegal alien from Mexico $2,500 to $3,000 for that same service. The cost dispels the notion that these are just poor people coming here to make a better life. $3,000 to the average illegal Mexican alien is not an insignificant sum. We need to know who is paying their cost and what is expected of them in return. Once the cost of drug and alien smuggling exceeds the consideration of any sum of money, the exchange then becomes a matter of blood. Once the costs are elevated to this level, we see true evil manifested in the struggle for power and money along the Arizona-Mexico border. The town of Caborca, Sonora, Mexico, lies along the main highway that accesses the Arizona-Mexico border west of Nogales, Arizona, from the interior of Mexico. This white GMC Suburban was found alongside the highway near Caborca. The engine was running, the air conditioning was on, the window was rolled partway down on the rear passenger side, and blood was dripping out of the bottom of that same door. Inside the Suburban, the cargo was covered with 2 white bed sheets. On the bed sheets in red was written a narco message to whomever found the message that the people controlling this area are not to be confronted. Under the sheets were the remains of between 10 to 14 human bodies that showed signs of extreme trauma, bondage, torture, and dismemberment. This was clearly a terroristic message to others that whoever controlled access to this part of the Arizona border was prepared to defend their turf at all costs. At a prominent movie theater in downtown Acapulco, Guerrero, Mexico, the skin from a human head was found draped over one of the divider stanchions at the entrance. Nearby was a human head that had been skinned. 2 arms severed near the elbow cradled the head, and in the left hand was placed a complete set of severed male genitalia. Nearby was the severed head and hands of a 16-year-old boy, prominently displayed on a lounge chair. It is hard to imagine a scene that would terrorize those beholding it anymore, especially understanding that Acapulco is a major tourist destination for people from all over the world. These types of terroristic acts are commonplace in Mexico today. There is no way to separate the people that perpetrate this level of evil from the general population. Certainly no police record check would divulge that information, or else they would already be in prison. It is from this population and these life experiences that illegal aliens from Mexico come to the United States, have lived, and possibly participated in. Do you want them for neighbors? Considering the example we have discussed relative to the Tumacacori Wilderness Study Area, we will now move east to the New Mexico-Mexico border and consider what is happening there. 2 United States senators from New Mexico proposed that a large wilderness national monument be created at the New Mexico-Mexico border in the Potrillo Mountains, as represented here in yellow. The majority of the businesses and people in the area oppose this idea for national security and public safety reasons. Many of the elected officials in New Mexico want this wilderness national monument permanently created for perceived environmental benefits. Why? Is there more to the story? Clearly, the proposal would benefit the transnational criminals in the area. Is this a textbook case of environmental activism seeking to compromise national security and public safety for perceived environmental benefits? Or is there another dynamic operating here? Does it fit the parameters of a quest for power or money? Looking at this map, we see that the proposed wilderness is near Las Cruces, New Mexico, Interstate Highways 10 and Interstate Highway 25, and an airport. Close by to the east is Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, reputed to be the most dangerous city in Mexico, if not the world. To the west for miles is sparsely populated open land until you get to the U.S. port of entry at Columbus, New Mexico. Across the border from Columbus is the port of entry at Palomas, Chihuahua, Mexico. South on the main highway from Palomas is the town of Ascension, Chihuahua, Mexico, which occupies a place on the main highway from the interior of Mexico to the New Mexico-Mexico border, much as Caborca occupies the main highway accessing the Arizona border west of Nogales, Arizona. This proposed wilderness national monument fits most all of the parameters of an ideal drug and alien smuggling corridor. At the police station in the town of Ascension, Chihuahua, Mexico, there was an ice chest marked as public vaccinations delivered by common carrier. Inside the ice chest were the severed heads of 4 men. Under the cellophane wrap was a narco message warning the police that the same thing was going to happen to them. This is a clear case of terrorism, similar to the Caborca incident. The police in Ascension attribute the dead men to a turf war between rival smuggling organizations, probably over access to the prime smuggling areas along the New Mexico border. One day about noon, the inspectors at the Mexican port of entry at Palomas heard gunfire south of the port of entry. A few minutes later, this red and silver Suburban was seen moving slowly toward the port of entry. When the Suburban reached the port of entry, it was discovered that the driver and the rear seat passenger were dead. The Suburban was being driven by the front seat passenger, who was mortally wounded, yet lived long enough to recount what had happened. The witnesses said the 3 officers were driving on the road toward the port of entry when they were passed by a pickup truck. As the pickup truck passed them, 2 men with automatic rifles sat up in the rear bed of the truck and fired into the Suburban, eventually killing all 3 occupants. These foreign transnational criminals already live among us. They live among us because of the 1986 amnesty, sanctuary city policies, an insecure border, and the lack of a political will to honestly pursue a logical solution to the illegal immigration problems of the United States. The magnitude and seriousness of the current situation is hidden in plain sight from the American people. It is concealed by misrepresenting the truth about the level of insecurity that already exists within the United States due to our illegal immigration nightmare. Consider this man, Jose Trevino Morales, as he celebrates the victory of his horse at the 2010 Futurity at Ruidoso, New Mexico. You see, Mr. Trevino is a bricklayer from Texas. Obviously, Mr. Trevino is a very successful bricklayer. Were you to have Mr. Trevino as a neighbor, or saw him walking down the street in Arizona, Texas, or New Mexico, you probably would not think anything of it. It is not a person's appearance that is important. What is important is his actions and behavior. Nobody became concerned when this prosperous bricklayer bought a horse ranch in Lexington, Oklahoma, or boarded his racehorses at Ruidoso, New Mexico. No, as long as he paid his bills and smiled, everything was just fine. The beginning of Mr. Trevino's problems began when he paid $3 million in cash for 2 racehorses. Reportedly, the Internal Revenue Service reviewed his tax filings and began to wonder where $3 million cash US dollars came from. It turns out Mr. Trevino is not really someone we want living in the United States. This is what those pesky IRS agents discovered. Yes, these people live among us. Next, we have an illegal Mexican alien by the name of Cesar Vega Munoz. Mr. Vega was found living in Socorro, New Mexico, and working at the local Burger King there. Again, there is nothing about his appearance that would cause alarm. However, Mr. Vega is a career criminal that lived among us. Another New Mexico resident is also an illegal alien from Mexico. Meet Juan Galindo. Were you to see Mr. Galindo standing in the refreshment line at the local football stadium, you would not give him a second glance. However, you would not want Mr. Galindo cleaning your yard, pruning your flowers, or doing other work around your house. Meet the real Juan Galindo. Yes, that does say he has been arrested for sexually assaulting a 4-week-old female infant to death. Illegal aliens like Cesar Vega and Juan Galindo already live among us. You cannot tell what they have done or what they are actually engaged in simply by looking at them. We do, however, need to take strong measures, whatever measures necessary, to secure our borders and ensure the immigration laws are vigorously enforced to protect us and our families against such dangerous predators. NAFBPO knows from the Arizona experience that this intelligence trend is valid. We do not have to prove it again in New Mexico to know where that wilderness proposal will take New Mexico. The conclusion is clear. Creating wilderness, monument-like federal public lands along the Arizona or New Mexico border would promote border insecurity and benefit transnational criminals. It is also clear that a large percentage of the illegal aliens that currently live among us are undesirable. The question now becomes, why are these threats being ignored, and who is providing the money to support such efforts that would directly diminish national security and public safety? I have given you the examples and the tools. The answer to that question is up to you.